Good afternoon, Net Worth Nation, aka your console, Ron G. Want to talk to you today about a very, very interesting topic, one that I know you'll get great value from. But before we dive into the material, as always, I'm going to ask you to like, share, and subscribe if you like the comments, if you like the material that you're getting today. One of the most important things that I could ever ask of you guys is to give your voice, let your voice to be heard in these types of videos. I will make these videos obviously based on the information a lot of you guys have requested out there. And so the goal is to just get you guys engaged. Your opinions are always, always, always super valuable. So I wanted to dive into this material today and not kind of preach a gloom and doom type of theology here, but the most important question that most of us have and do not want to ever ask is where did our retirement income go? This is the dreaded question that we never want to have. And it is one of the most important reasons why I choose to do these videos, even though I don't do them as frequently as I used to. Every now and then, I will do them and give them as much substance as I possibly can within my 15, 20-minute spiel. So without further ado, one of the most primary things that really snatches the scratch, man, snatches that scratch, is the unexpected sickness benefits. And I am not talking about your traditional COVID, flus, and even temporary ankle twists, breaks, and so on and so forth. We know those can cause problems for salaries, but we're talking more about those long-term sicknesses that could potentially even put a retiree in maybe even a nursing home or some type of institution like that. Now, while again, I'm not here to preach the gloom and doom, but we want to make sure we understand that most of the information that we're going to talk about today when we cover these top 7 topics is not about a matter of if, it's more like when. So again, without further ado, when we talk about the sickness benefits, I just want to share some quick statistics that I did get off of the American Journal of Public Health, one of my go-to magazines that I really think everyone should keep up with. I will put a link in this in the description below if you want to click on that subscription. That's just a plug. It's nothing to it. But over 530,000 families up into the year of 2022. Now, again, this information is a couple years old. Not much changes in a couple of years. But as of 2022, 530,000 American families were affected by some form of long-term health strain that attacked their finances. And again, why do I emphasize this for our seniors and our guys coming out of the system and getting ready to retire? Because if you did not account for these types of things in your prototypical retirement plans, you may just have an unpredictable amount of stress and strain on your retirement savings. Another thing you want to recognize too is that a lot of us, even though we will have some form of medical coverage, because I know you guys are saying right out there, hey, Ron G, what about Medicare? Okay, I got you. What about me? I work for the state. The state will cover my expenses. And that very well can be true. But what we want to talk about are the out-of-pocket costs that are always going to be associated with a lot of medical plans. There's always things like the high deductibles or deductibles, Medicare, you have, premiums that you have to pay for. A lot of people don't realize that too. And there are certain things that could come up that could put a strain on your sickness benefits. So again, you want to make sure that you're aware of that as well. Another one that you really don't want to sleep on are the taxes. Now, again, not all of us live in parts of the country where we do not have to worry about federal income taxes. I also want to let you know that not all couples are created equal. You have families and couples where a husband or a wife may have worked differently and had different types of income. And again, not all retirees are created equal. A lot of times, our high income earning families are really not as prepared as you would think for the high tax bracket that they could potentially fall in. Remember now, usually most people, when they get towards the retirement age, that is the highest income earning years of their career. And what could potentially happen, which we, pray that doesn't happen, is that if they come out and pull out all those monies at a specific time, that tax liability can be very, very heavy. So we really want to make sure we watch out for that. Another thing you have to be very aware of are things like property taxes, things like that we don't even think about, that in certain areas you could, you've accumulated a lot of things over the years. And I don't know, are you guys downsizing? Are you thinking about that? Some states you have to pay property taxes on vehicles, cars, houses, RVs, a lot of the things that most of us retirees look forward to doing, riding across the country in an RV. Those are tax liabilities. You have to be very, very careful that we are aware of that. And I know a lot of you are catching on to the RMD, the required minimum distribution, meaning that the federal government says, hey guys, you can't keep your money hidden in these little accounts for the rest of your life. You have to begin to pull that money out. And so when you do that, you face the tax hammer. So guys, don't underestimate taxes on income in retirement. Another thing that we want to make sure that we're very crystal clear on, for those of you who do not have wills or any kind of written documentation, is the dreaded probate. Now, again, why am I talking to the retirement generation? Because, again, unfortunately, most of us could potentially lose a spouse, and that could mean that we would have to take on the responsibility of maybe going through probate to fight for properties or things like that should easily convey into the survivor. It may or may not. And so you want to be very careful that you guys are sitting down now. I know you've heard it, and you probably said, I know I need to do it, Ron G. I know I need to do it, Ron G. I got my plans. I've written it on the billboard. I got it up on my refrigerator. This is something that I'm going to do, Ron G. But let's be realistic. It has to be done. Okay? So you have to get that probate, because that can come out of nowhere and really, really hurt you pretty bad. Another one that most people probably are not thinking about, and you should be, is the impact that the creditors have on retirement savings. Now, a lot of people probably say, well, how exactly? Because, once you reach a certain age, you're thinking that most of your credit card debts should have been paid down and reduced. And a lot of times that is correct, because some of us sometimes dip into retirement savings, 401ks, and tools like that to pay down creditors. The unfortunate part about that is that when you take that money out, you have to be sure that you recoup those funds in time for you to retire. A lot of these creditors are not going to go away just because you turned 65. Unfortunately, I wish they would, but they're not. And so you have to be very strategic with how you lower your credits. Again, some of us have the itch and the scratch, even in our senior years, to purchase products and items that maybe a younger person purchases. Like some people have the tendency to buy another home when they're well up into their 50s. If you got a 30-year mortgage, 50 plus 30, that's 80. Yeah, I mean, I know it seems simple math, and it is. Another thing you have to be careful of, oh man, those new Teslas are coming out. Oh my gosh, they're so dope. You got to be careful. That's another expense, $50,000, $60,000. So again, guys, I know I'm not talking to my children per se, but the point is, guys, we have to be very, very careful about how our credit looks and the types of debts that we have on us in time of retirement. Let me just keep it 100%. Retirees think that their Social Security is protected. For those of you guys, I don't know, girls or whatever, I don't know, in this generation that would still want to go out there swinging and slinging, the old child support guy doesn't forgive Social Security benefits either. So make no mistake, you can get it. You can catch the smoke no matter what age you're in. So Protect yourselves out there. Watch it. All right, so that's that. I don't want to overbeat that, but I think you get it clear. Creditors will not go away either. Another thing, guys, you may have probably heard a lot of recently, I've been sharing this information, is the market risk. See, the timeliness of the market is something you have to really be aware of. What does that mean? That means that when your time comes and your ticket is called to retire, you do not know what the market is going to present to you during that time. So you have to be very, very careful about the market volatility. That stuff is absolute real. Another thing that could affect you is again, how do you set up your investments? I know a lot of us like to set it and forget it, and that's kind of like the mo with people in the workforce world. But unfortunately, because of the way the markets are performing, you can't not always just set it and forget it. You have to somewhat be in touch who you with your advisors to see, or with yourself, looking at the performances. Don't just take that envelope when it comes in the mail, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too, and just throw it in the pile with the rest of the junk mail. Open it up, look at it. If you get emails from your mutual fund accounts, look at those accounts, see how they're performing. You may want to move something around if it's not doing the right thing, especially when you're moving into the 40s and the 50 years of your life. Those are the years that you really want to start watching certain market behaviors a little bit more than normal. And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but excuse me, economic downturn is economic downturn. We don't control it. So when it happens, it happens. We just have to be very aware of the market because, yes, it does absolutely have a negative impact on our retirement, depending on when we choose to come out of the field. So again, keep that in mind. One more thing that we have to look at. Again, I know this is kind of long of sickness, but I did talk about sickness, but I want to talk about that disability, the one where it comes at an age bracket where you're still in your workforce years. See, that disability really, really has to be something that you have to watch out for. Now, the reason why I say that is because that's the disability that absolutely affects your income potential. You're not making the money that you make if you're working on a reduced schedule, or if you have to tap into disability incomes before your age 62. So again, who's the other spouse in the house? What they have to be able to pick up the slack, the work they have to do. Do you have doctor's appointments and different things like that? All of that stuff is something that we have to take in effect. Now, I know I said it about it's not a matter of when and if. I will say with the disability piece, it's not necessary. I can't really say that everybody's going to experience a disability. That's probably a little bit more out of all of the other ones I'll talk about. That's probably the least likely to happen, but it happens. Okay, it happens, and you have to be aware of the same type of expenses that are associated with these sickness benefits. Again, watching every dollar where it counts. And the last one, the dreaded one that we all hate to talk about, but we know has to be talked about, is the death, whether it's untimely death, whether it's death in old age, no matter where death falls in the spectrum, it's always going to have a negative impact on the remaining spouse unless you take the information to heart in videos such as this, meaning that you have a real true plan to offset the loss of the income. Obviously, the emotional and the stresses and those types of losses can never be replaced. So let's not even go there. But you can obviously subdue and offset the financial strain. You can obviously have a plan in place to offset the loss of income. Again, like we discussed on the previous slides, probate and staying away from those types of things, making sure we have wills so the transfer of wealth is a smooth, easy transition and that person is allowed to grieve. Make no mistake, you always have to look at the income power of a spouse, not, you know, guesstimation. I mean, we could play it simple. If you know that you've lost a $50,000 income at the age of 35, do the math. 35, 45, 55, 65, 75. That's 40 years or 30 years of income loss that you just can't reproduce. So when you're setting yourself up for these types of situations, you absolutely have to play the right cards, guys. All right. So before I let you go, I don't ever like to talk about problems without a solution. Obviously, there are things you can do. The very first thing you want to do is really want to get down with the financial advisors. Make sure you guys are getting those trusts and those wills in order. The second thing you want to do is maybe talk to someone like myself here at the Net Worth Nation. What we do here, we absolutely get things going in terms of leveraging up these types of insurance products and services. These are age old strategies, guys. There's nothing new under the sun. What we do is we leverage the power of the insurance products with the cash value solutions. And what we do is we don't reinvent the wheel. There's no reason to do that. These companies have been around since the actually, the late 1800s, early 1900s. These things have been around. These companies have been around. They're age old. And so what we do is we leverage these things up and we get you guys in a position where those types of things are, at best, the least of your worries. If you enjoyed the video, I hope this helps Ron G, aka your console, the Net Worth Nation. Let's talk again soon. Peace. I'm out.